In a previous video, I shared with you some signs you can use to discern if you're under spiritual attacks. Now, sometimes you can come under spiritual attacks, not because you have purposefully done something outside the will of God, but because of ignorance. You can attract demonic attacks as a result of the following. Number one, you establish unwise friendships and associations. Proverbs 13 verse 20 says, "He who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm." The battles that we find ourselves in sometimes, it's not our battle, but we bring it on ourselves through the people we associate with. Not everybody who comes into your life comes to be a blessing. Some come to derail you and delay what God has for you. Some people are sent by the enemy. The moment they enter your life, everything begins to fall apart. Be careful of unwise friendships. They can attract unnecessary warfare in your life. The second thing is ungodly counsel. Be careful who you take advice from, especially if you're a Christian. Psalm 1 and verse 1 says, "Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful." So as a believer, you cannot take counsel from just anyone. A believer walks in the spirit and an unbeliever walks in the flesh. So a believer must be careful what kind of advice you are taking from an unbeliever, because unwise counsel can open doors to the enemy to afflict you, and you will end up in battles you don't belong in. The third thing that can attract unnecessary warfare is prayers you're sending up for people whom God is dealing with. Sometimes, out of spiritual ignorance, you can engage demonic forces on behalf of people who God has not released you to intercede for. The battles some people are fighting are sometimes allowed by God for a reason. Sometimes people have done things and God is dealing with them. The Bible says there is no sin that goes unpunished, and you will give account for all that we have done. It's not that we shouldn't pray for people, but not everybody is your assignment. You can pray for someone, but be careful what you are praying. Pray that the will of God be done in their lives, but do not enter into warfare on their behalf. Seek God before you try to intercede. The fourth thing is unforgiveness. In Matthew 6, 9 to 13, Jesus is teaching his disciples how to pray. In verse 12, he says, "And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us." If your heart is filled with unforgiveness, it blocks you from receiving from God, and it invites warfare. Because when you refuse to forgive, you are harboring hatred and bitterness, which gives the enemy legal rights to afflict you. Number 5 is disobedience and rebellion. God desires your obedience. When you walk in disobedience, you open the doors to attacks from the enemy. You open the doors to unnecessary warfare. The Bible says that Saul's legacy was destroyed because of disobedience. And the final thing that can attract unnecessary warfare in your life is pride. Proverbs 16:18 says, "Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." God cannot work with a proud spirit. So when you have a pride problem, it opens you up to spiritual attacks. Why? Proud people do not receive correction. They think they're always right. So the enemy will use that pride to destroy you by misleading you to think you are the source of anything that you have accomplished. Nebuchadnezzar was brought to his knees because of pride, and he ended up in the wild doing what? Eating grass. Don't let pride cause you to end up in the wilderness eating grass. I pray for you today that God will give you the spirit of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that will help you to choose the right friends, avoid ungodly counsel, and discern on whose behalf you should wage war in the spirit. May God help you to forgive those who have wronged you. May you not walk in disobedience and rebellion, and may pride have no room in your heart. May God open your spiritual eyes to see and avoid unnecessary warfare.